So one of the most important things you have to decide on when you're emailing or DMing college coaches and trying to get response, trying to get interest, is who are you going to reach out to? Because especially if you're looking at like a Division One FBS staff, there are probably 20 coaches that you could reach out to. It's like, who do we reach out to? And common advice is often like, okay, don't reach out to the head coach, don't reach out to coordinators, reach out to your area coach and like GAs, graduate assistants, smaller level recruiting staff. And I don't think that's necessarily wrong, but there are some caveats to that, as well as I kind of want to break down how we think of things. This is after generating over $16 million in scholarship money for families over the past 2 years, just the past 2 years, working with over 100 families one-on-one, getting them over 250 offers. And this is stuff that we use from anywhere from smaller schools all the way to the big schools, like Division One FBS schools. And so yes, those smaller level coaches may have a better chance of getting responses. That doesn't necessarily mean you should only reach out to them. And I'll kind of break that down why here. And so if you don't know who I am, I'm Trevor. I'm a former college quarterback. I now help families with the recruiting process like I broke down. We've had some great results over the past 2 years and really broken it down to science. So if that's something you're interested in, you can click the link down below, learn more about what we do, and book a call to see if it makes sense. But with that being said, let's dive into it. So the first one is what I'd say like GAs. It's kind of like that first level of, hey, you know what? Like you're probably going to have a better chance of getting responses, better chance of getting your film seen, as well as like lower level recruiting staff, so recruiting analysts, those kind of guys. And this is often what people often say, like, hey, go only reach out to these guys. And that's generally speaking, like if you're short on time, you only have, you only can send messages to a couple coaches each day. Yeah, probably should focus your time on that. The next kind of section is position coaches. These can be grouped with area coaches as well, because they're pretty much two and two the same. Like each position coach is probably going to have some kind of area that they recruit, and it's dependent on the program. If only whether they group it by area or they group it by position is kind of dependent program to program. So you can pretty much group into the same thing. This is kind of middle of the line. Like you're going to have less chance of getting responses. But it's still like fairly good as far as things go. Then from here, you have coordinators. This is going to be like offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, pretty low chance of getting responses, especially at bigger schools, but you still have a chance. And then at the very bottom, you have the head coach. Head coaches are not likely to respond back to your messages. So most of the time I would recommend leaving them out, especially if you're doing these kinds of things manually. Though we have some responses from head coaches and it happens. And so the other thing I want to talk about is that if you flip this on its head and you say, okay, yes, you get better chance of responses on the GAs, and you get less chance of responses on the head coaches. If you get a response from a head coach, that is significantly more important than if you get a response from a GA. And I think what a lot of people overlook is that they just take this cookie cutter advice of like, oh, GAs, recruiting staff, and it generally makes sense. You're going to get a better response and you have your foot in the door. But your chances of getting a response from a GA or recruiting analyst to turn into an offer is much lower versus getting a response from a coordinator is significantly higher to turn into an offer. And so rather than limit yourself to just these coaches or just these two coaches, expand yourself to the whole spectrum, because you're going to, number one, increase the amount of responses that you get overall. Because the more coaches that you reach out to, the more responses you will get, the more eyes that you will get on your stuff. That's all extremely positive. Number two, if you get seen and liked by the coaches that are more important to making the recruiting decisions, you are more likely to get an offer. And so I highly recommend that you expand the amount of coaches that you reach out to within a school, because we've seen any such coach respond back and that turn into an offer from, hey, quarterbacks reaching out to defensive line coaches and getting an offer through that, or vice versa. And so you just never know where it's going to exactly come from. And rather than try to, do this thing where you only limit to yourself to specific options and think that's going to give yourself the best chance, rather than just expand it out and really increase your surface area for the chances that, hey, you might get a message from someone that absolutely loves your stuff and is in the right spot to make that decision to offer you. Because you may get a response from a GA, but they don't have the pull to offer you. And this GA that really likes your film may not be liked by the position coach. And so like he doesn't check out the film because this GA is like, not seen as a good evaluator or something like that. And you don't want that to happen to you. So you might as well send it to everyone so that way everyone can see, and the person that likes you the most can hopefully promote your film and ultimately get you an offer. Now, with that being said, it's not necessarily realistic to be able to message every coach, especially if you're doing this manually. And so I recommend that, hey, yeah, if you're going to do this manually and you're only going to focus on a couple of coaches, yeah, probably focus on your position coach or area coach and lower level coaches like GAs, recruiting staff, stuff like that. But if you're someone that wants to take to the next level, we have an automated system that handles this all for you. And this is something that we implement and we've tested over 250,000 messages that we've sent in the past probably year and a half. And we've seen that just the more coaches that you message, the more responses you get, the more likely you are to get an offer. And these responses come from anyone and everyone that you would possibly even think that would be possible. And so that's something that you're interested in. You can click down in the link below. Hopefully I'll get to work with you if you decided to join on. Regardless, if you hop on the call, we'll kind of dissect your recruiting situation, see how we might be able to help, and still give you some pointers, even if you decide not to move forward with this, or we say that, hey, you don't really need our help, which does happen. But if there's anything that you can take away from this, it's that just try to push yourself a little bit more in how many coaches that you reach out per school and how many coaches you reach out overall. It's pretty much basic math in just terms that you're going to increase your chances. Like there's no negative to this. I often think from the frame of, hey, what is this going to increase my chances of getting a scholarship offer? Yes or no? And by messaging more coaches within the staff, yes. It's definitely a question of how much more likely are you going to by doing this. That kind of leads you to how much time you're going to actually invest. That's why I say, like, hey, if you're doing this manually, probably want to do all these. But if you're able to automate it, like, why wouldn't you? It's zero time investment on your part and leads to, however much upside that it leads to. Maybe it leads to nothing, but, better to do it rather than to regret it. So hopefully this is kind of a good way to think about it. So if you're emailing or DMing college coaches, kind of think on this spectrum, and it just depend on how much time you have are kind of like the two variables you want to consider there. But yeah, hopefully it's helpful. Hope you enjoyed the video. Pretty quick one today, and I'll see you in the next one.